after this delirium and amphisbaena, I'd like to tell you the story of Felinum. The proving of Felinum changed my complete understanding and perspective of homeopathy. Until I did this proving, for me, the substance was something else, and the proving and the materia medica and the repertory is something else, and never the twain shall meet. We did the Felinum proving as a double-blind proving. After the proving was complete, we had collected data from every patient, mind, dreams, physical symptoms. A discussion ensued without anybody knowing what the substance is. As the material was collated, it all came down to one strong sentence at the mental level. Delusions, he or she is a prostitute. Delusions, he or she is a prostitute. And every symptom and behavior and dream seemed to come out of this central theme. Okay, we looked up. Now we opened the chit and said, what is the remedy? And here we see Felinum. And we said, okay, and I looked at the other old provings to see if this corroborates anywhere, and I found nothing really. So we just started putting the data together, left it at that. One of the proving supervisors went to British Council Library. As he was going through the books for himself, he happened to see a book with a picture of the cat on it. Now, of course, because we had just had this proving, he was interested and picked that book. He brought that and a couple of other books actually on cats, but some books for himself. And then brought this for me and said, I don't know if this is interesting. Out of this book, I picked this one because here was a person who had spent 6 months in a barn, photographing and writing in detail about the activities of a family of cats. 6 months, day and night, stopping just to pee, shower, and eat. Amazing. As he wrote down their behavior and I read it, I suddenly came across this page and the sentence that made my hair stand up. He described the evolution of the cat and said the cat came from the Egyptian big cat. Over time, as human beings began to settle into civilization, they began to cut away forest land and form little villages or farm areas. Food began to get scarce in the jungle, but began to abound where these little villages and habitations were. Now, the very survival of this Egyptian wild cat was at stake. If it continued to live free wild in the jungle, it was likely to die. But if it came towards the human habitation, the human being would kill it. So the cat, it said in the book, is the only animal that domesticated itself. It over time became smaller, tamer, allowed itself to be petted so that it would get food. The book said, this wild cat gave up its freedom and its independence to and for survival. It further said, the cat prostituted itself for its survival. I read that and I was blown away. Here, not just the symptom and the characteristic, but when we do the proving in the human being, the evolution and its conflict that is part of the very substance itself, as well as the human and the animal interaction, expressed itself in the proving. And therefore, this was the moment I recognized, despite my denying it, that you cannot deny that the substance from which we make our Similimum and its proving and the materia medica are deeply connected to each other. Their stories run parallel to each other, and we can learn one from the other. How does this source of the Similimum now become part of a person's life? How does it become the patient's remedy? This is another interesting question that we've all thought of. At the time of Hahnemann, there were no answers. We didn't know enough about the human behavior, the human brain. But today we do. Today we know how this substance becomes incorporated in a patient's being so that his behavior, his symptoms are a reflection of that substance and its proving. How does a substance become a Similimum in a patient's life? Watch the next email as we send you the next clip telling you how a source becomes a Similimum. Register on this webinar on the 14th and 15th of April to honor Samuel Hahnemann, where it will open the doors of your perception towards how the substance becomes the Similimum and how we should discover it using the latest cutting-edge technology of neuroscience. See you in the Leap to the Similimum seminar by Dr. Divya Chhabra and Enlightenment Education on the 14th and 15th April. Meanwhile, watch for our next email as we open the little door into the secret of how the substance becomes a Similimum.